World News on Rave 91.7 FM.
Here are the top stories of the news. FG confirms 6 fresh cases of monkeypox as disease hits Abuja. Madrid fires Catalonia's regional police chief. In Asia, China's Guangdong gets new party boss. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Rave 91.7 FM. My name is Beevan. Magoni. Now the details. The federal government has confirmed 6 fresh cases of monkeypox, including one in Abuja, the federal capital territory. The Minister of State for Health, Dr. Osage Henry, made this announcement in his office in Abuja. According to a statement by the Director of Media, Mrs. Boade Akinola, apart from Abuja, there were 2 new cases of the disease in each of Bayelsa and Akwa Ibom State and one in Enugu. This brings the total number of confirmed monkeypox cases to 9. Henry noted that investigations were ongoing to see if any of the new cases had a link with the Bayelsa cluster where the outbreak first started. Meanwhile, the Registrar of Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, Professor Isaac Oloyede, has said the board would not consider any candidate without O-level or a level requirement this year. Oloyede insisted that only candidates who met the O-level and A-level requirements and other criteria cited by institutions will be offered admission in 2017-2018 session. Speaking in Abuja, the registrar explained that candidates with higher scores in the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME) may not be admitted but could be eligible for admission consideration. The registrar also said the board will no longer consider or regularize admission of candidates done illegally by the tertiary institutions. Away from Nigeria, Cambodia police today deported 61 Chinese nationals wanted in China on suspicion of extorting money over the internet and by phone. Reports say several hundred suspected scammers have been arrested in Cambodia, which has emerged as a major center of rackets that have cost the victims billions of dollars. Chief of Investigation at Cambodia's Immigration Department, Ok Sela, said Chinese police had arrived to pick up the suspect. Ok Sela said they had been detained during raids on October 17 and October 21 in the capital, Phnom Penh, and in Kandal and Phra Sihanouk provinces. In the United States, the first charges have been filed in an investigation led by Special Counsel Robert Mueller into alleged Russia interference in the 2016 U.S. election. U.S. intelligence agencies said earlier this year the Russian government sought to help Donald Trump win the election. The document said that Russia led a campaign to denigrate his Democrat opponent Hillary Clinton by hacking into email accounts and paying social media trolls to make comments. Mr. Mueller's investigation is looking into any links between Russia and the Trump campaign, but both denied there was any collusion. Meanwhile, U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis said during a visit to South Korea that the threat of nuclear attack from North Korea is increasing. Mattis warned it could face a massive military response if it used nuclear weapons separately. North Korea released the South Korean fishing boat, which is said had been found in North Korean waters illegally, while South Korean officials said a crew of 10 were released yesterday evening. It comes at a time of heightened tension in the region, with both sides running a series of military exercises. In Australia, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull appointed his foreign minister as acting Prime Minister as he tried to stem the fallout of a citizenship crisis that has cost his government its parliamentary majority. It was confirmed Turnbull delayed until Monday a long-planned trip to Israel and held an emergency cabinet meeting to show up support. This was after Australia's High Court ruled yesterday that his deputy, Barnaby Joyce, and 4 other lawmakers should be expelled from Parliament because they held dual nationality. The court's shock decision had immediate ramifications, stripping the coalition government of the one-seat majority it holds in the lower house, forcing it to call a by-election in Joyce's seat and sending the Australian dollar lower. Turnbull today said the deputy position will remain vacant until after the December 2 by-election for Joyce's seat. Indonesia, the authorities have detained a fireworks factory owner and manager on suspicion of negligence after explosions and fire ripped through a warehouse on the outskirts of Jakarta, killing 48 workers and injuring dozens. Police disclosed the blaze in the manufacturing hub of Tangerang was one of the worst industrial disasters to hit Southeast Asia's biggest economy, where safety standards are often weakly enforced. They said the fire started when sparks from a welding operation lit a stack of raw materials used for making fireworks, causing at least 2 explosions that could be heard miles away. In Spain, Madrid today dismissed the chief of Catalonia's regional police, the Mossos de Escuadra, a day after imposing direct control on the region over a bid to break away from Spain. The firing of Joseph Luis Trapero, Catalonia's highest-ranking policeman, was published in official government gazette as Spain perched on a knife edge in its worst political crisis in decades. The government has stripped Catalonia of its autonomy and taken charge of its government. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy had announced the dissolution of the regional parliament and the removal of the Catalan leader and called snap local elections yesterday. Information gathered that demonstrations for and against independence went on into the night. The crisis began when a Catalan leader held an independence referendum defying a ruling by the Constitutional Court, which had declared it illegal. Elsewhere, China has appointed a new top official for the southern export powerhouse province of Guangdong, whose former leader is likely to be promoted to a vice premier. President Xi Jinping had on Wednesday unveiled the new senior leadership at the end of the twice-a-decade Congress, with new members appointed to the 3 elite party bodies that run China. Over the next few weeks and months, a series of other reshuffles will take place as the party moves people into new party and government positions as others retire. Investigation revealed that Li Ye has been moved from his post as party boss in the northeastern province of Liaoning to run Guangdong province as his party chief, replacing the incumbent Ho Chunhua. Guangdong, which portrays the former British colony of Hong Kong, is one of China's most economically important provinces. In Nepal, at least 19 people were killed when an overcrowded bus swerved off the road and plunged into a river today. Reports gathered the bus skidded off the road in Dading district, approximately 80 kilometers west of the capital, Kathmandu, earlier this morning and fell into the Trishuli River. Police said at least 16 injured passengers were recovered from the river and taken to local hospitals. Police Inspector Baron Bahadur Singh at the scene of the accident told journalists that the driver was injured in the accident and is thought to have fled after freeing himself from the wreckage of the bus.
Now for business news.
Welcome to Business News. The federal government said that its plan to generate 20,000 megawatts of electricity over the next 4 years was on course. The Minister of State for Power, Alhaji Mustafa Shehuri, gave the assurance in Funtua, Katsina State, when he inaugurated a 132-33 kV transformer that would boost power supply to local governments and Katsina South by 200%. He said the government was replacing faulty transformers nationwide and installing new ones in order to ensure steady power supply to Nigerians. Shehuri said that ongoing transformer rehabilitation and expansion program will facilitate full utilization of the more than 7,000 megawatts of power currently available.
This is Spotlight.
And on sports, British number 2 Kyle Edmund maintained his fine form in Vienna with straight-set quarter-final win over Germany's Jan-Lennart Struff. Edmund, 22, dropped out just 2 points on his first serve as he won 6-2, 7-5 to reach his third ATP semi-final of the year. He will meet Lucas Puel, who beat fellow Frenchman Richard Gasquet 7-6, 6-1 for a place in the final. In boxing, British-born Nigerian Anthony Joshua returns to the ring at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, Wales, tonight to defend his IBF and WBA titles against Carlos Takam. The fight, which will be broadcasted in over 160 countries, has a reported £20 million purse. France-based Cameroonian Takam, 36, ranked number 3 in the IBF ranking, was called in late to face Joshua after Bulgarian Cobra Pele pulled out with a shoulder injury. Joshua added the WBA World Heavyweight title to his IBF title when he knocked Ukraine's Vladimir Klitschko out in front of 90,000 fans at the Wembley Stadium on April 29.
Now entertainment news.
The ladies.
And on entertainment, Harry's song's manager has responded to the claims of a Nigerian music producer, Chamberlain, that the singer and songwriter is yet to pay him for producing the song, Tribute to Mandela. The music producer had also noted that he never signed any contract or written agreement with the songwriter based on a mutual trust that existed between them when the song was being recorded. Harry's song had further recorded a remake of the song featuring South African rapper MT. Harry's song, who was formerly signed to 5-Star Music alongside Casey and Skippy, had quit the record company over a rift with the management of. Before we end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. The federal government has confirmed 6 fresh cases of monkeypox, including 1 in Abuja, the federal capital territory. Madrid today dismissed the chief of Catalonia's regional police, the Mosso de Escuadra, a day after imposing direct control on the region over a bid to break away from Spain. In Asia, China has appointed a new top official for the Southern Export Powerhouse province of Guangdong, whose former leader is likely to be promoted to a vice premier. And just before we go, did you know Nigeria is the world's 12th largest crude oil producer and the 8th largest exporter, producing an average of 2,525,000 barrels per day? That is the world news on Rave 91.7 FM. News was edited by Stella Bolarungwa. You can visit our website on ravefmng.com to listen to us live and interact with us. I am Beevan. Magoni. Good.
And that was the